let me just begin with a confession. I have an anger problem. This anger problem has recently been coming to my attention and especially manifests itself in my family and toward the people in my family, and realizing how frustrated and impatient I get and how that causes me to treat them in a way that of course is detrimental to my relationships with them, to my ability to influence them positively and to disciple them, as a parent. Here's how I discovered that I had an anger problem. I was talking to the Lord about my concerns relating to my relationships with my family members. I realized there was something going on inside of me that was part of the problem, and that wasn't producing the kind of close relationships that I wanted with my family members. And so I was really praying and thinking about this, and I asked the Lord about what it is. What is going on the inside? And as I waited and listened to the Lord and was trying to understand this, He reminded me of my dad's book called The Message in Your Emotions. And so I tried to find it on my bookshelf. And I found it. Here it is, The Message in Your Emotions by McDill. Of course, that's Dad. It wasn't just this book in general, but was very specifically brought to my mind that I needed to read the chapters on anger. And this is a very interesting book because it has this as its thesis, and that is, when you have negative emotions, your negative emotions are trying to tell you something, not as if they have some intentionality, but they do, if you'll let them, they do tell you something about yourself, about what's going on. This book helps us understand what our emotions are telling us. Negative emotions such as self-doubt and anger and loneliness and boredom, guilt, worry, and discontentment. And so I obviously went straight to these chapters as it was brought to my mind on anger. And so I'm just going to turn there and share a few things there. Here's the definition of anger. Anger is the feeling of hostility and aggression in reaction to some circumstance or event that poses a threat to one's control. Anger can range from irritation to rage. It is the center of a cluster of emotional pain in the area of authority. Though the desire for control was initially a good quality, it went bad in the fall. As we have already noted, man's understanding of himself shifted from God-centeredness to self-centeredness. Instead of serving as agents of God's control on this earth, we naturally try to establish our own independent control. Instead of seeking to please God with efforts at control, we seek to please ourselves. Instead of seeing our control as an expression of God's authority, we see it as our own rule. Allow God to establish His authority and control in your life. Allow Him to use you to bring order out of confusion and peace out of conflict. But it means giving up your control. Not only will you be blessed as His grace works in your life, you will be a blessing to those around you. Your anger can be an alarm to remind you that it is God, not you, who is ultimately in control. When the message in your emotion signals a warning that you are trying to control circumstances and other people, it is time to take action to address the control issue. And so I know that what's happening is when I become angry, it's telling me that I want to control a situation. And it's bringing to my attention, right off the bat, that I have my own agenda, usually a selfish agenda. And so the solution is, right at that moment, for me to lay down my agenda and what it is I want to control and seek the Lord and say, Lord, in this situation, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to accomplish? But the most important thing is this, that I am now following God's agenda. I am carrying out His will, and I don't have to worry about the outcome. My job isn't to make sure everything goes the way it should. My job is to be obedient in that situation. Now, sometimes, like as a parent, I do have authority, and it is my job to bring about certain situations, certain kinds of behavior or discipline or something in my children. But at that point, again, I don't have to become angry because it's not a selfish drive. and I know that what I'm doing is right, and the outcome really isn't up to me. My job is simply, as a servant of God, to carry out His orders and what it is that He has called me to do in life. And I want to submit to the power and to the leading of the Holy Spirit. And as I submit to Him and simply obey Him and leave the results to the Lord, I am free of anger, and I don't have to control situations. And the only thing He's called me to do is obey and submit to Him, and I can do that. I can't control the people around me, but I can submit to Him. So I'm thankful for my dad and for how he taught and discipled me. I'm thankful for this book. I do want to recommend it to you. There are a lot of other emotions in here that are signaling different concerns in our life that God has the answers to, and the Bible has given us answers to. If you think this book would be helpful to you, you can go on over to my website, truthtofreedom.org, and there'll be a link, a review of this section in this book with this video, and a link to where you can purchase the book.